Yo, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys had a wonderful 4th of July. You're tuned in to the weekend wrap up on the Juicebox Heroes podcast. I'm one of your hosts, PK, and we got the Sweet Bee Bones Browse in the house tonight. We are missing one. We're missing the one we call the Dubon Fan Club president. He is attending, Browse, to some family matters. And I don't know if you know this. He's on his way to Pearland right now to console the one that we call Dodger Mike. I think Dodger Mike is in a corner in the fetal position, sucking his thumb. So, but all jokes aside, man, Chris isn't with us tonight. We're going to hold it down for him. He's held it down for us for, like on Thursday when I was having issues with the streaming. But tonight, you got us both. So let's get going. Browse, how was your weekend, man? How was your 4th?
It's fantastic, man. It was good to get out of town. We got to get to the beach, shoot some fireworks off, see some family. It was we had a pretty good 4th of July weekend. So thank you guys for holding it down on Thursday and then Saturday as well when you guys did your live look-in during the game. But to get to Astros baseball, whoo, buddy. Yeah, Dodger Mike probably is crying in a corner, and every other Dodger fan along with him, because that was pretty rough if you're a Dodger fan. We went in and we ran shop is what we did. So anyway, PK, how was your weekend, buddy? Did you have a good?
It was good. It was good. We did our traditional go to the Friendswood parade like we always do with the fam. Barbecue. After that, pool Friday. Today was down in Galveston. My daughter had her final beach tournament today. Didn't go like we planned, but it's okay. She's heading off to Virginia Beach in a couple of weeks for a national tournament. So still a warm-up tournament. But all in all, man, great weekend. I'm going to finish the weekend tomorrow with jury duty, so that's cool. Not really. But yeah, man, all in all, good weekend. And look, now we can get into the baseball talk. I know the people that are watching don't really care what we did on the weekend. However, how about that beatdown we put out on those Dodgers out in LA? We talked about it a little bit Saturday. Me and Chris did when we were going live for the first 3 innings. Friday you come in, LMJ's on the bump, right? Last time he pitched there was game 7 in 2017. I mean, it's been a minute, right? Like, he loves that stadium, and he goes out and throws, like, I wouldn't call it a gem specifically, right? Because he had some walks, but like we talked about on Saturday, man, he was amped up from the jump, right? You could tell that he was full of emotion, pumped to be out there, ready to step up to the proverbial plate, and face that Dodger lineup. And he did what he needed to do, right? I mean, he did 6 innings. Got it right here. Got it right here for you, baby. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned, 4 Ks, 4 walks. The walks, we don't like walks, right? But they didn't come around to bite you. So, I mean, we could spend probably a pretty decent amount of time on the Friday night game. But in a nutshell, like, LMJ did his thing. We were super pumped for that. Like I was telling Chris, like, that game for me stayed on the TV the whole night, even in the blowout, because I wanted to watch the Dodgers suffer, and I did. So what were your initial thoughts from the game, Browse? We'll get a little bit deeper into
it. Dude, to see that game, I mean, listen, I didn't think that we were going to put 18 on anybody this season, much less the Dodgers. But, you did hit the nail on the head. I think that one of the key takeaways on that was we're seeing LMJ get out there. He's starting to improve. He's starting to work on everything that he's been just building up to for the last few years to get back on the mound and get back to, just being a really good Major League Baseball pitcher. So, he's going to have the bumps in the road as we go along. We've seen that. But at the same time, this outing, he was definitely improving on kind of what he's been up. Yeah, he did have some traffic. You're right. So there was traffic on the bases for him. He had some unfortunate walks, which that's been kind of a thing that's been a problem. That last game he had here in Houston, I was actually at that game, and he definitely was having a really hard time trying to find the strike zone that day. But he looked a lot better in LA. So, and even though he didn't have a perfect game, I would say that our offense definitely helped out. So, I mean, you put 18 on these guys, and the thing that I absolutely love, I'm sure you guys talked about it on Saturday. I didn't get to listen to that part, but every time they start to boo Altuve and start to boo the Astros, the harder you boo, the more fire you're going to put under that guy. And I mean, was Friday the day he hit 2 home runs?
Yes, Friday was the game he hit 2 home runs. I mean, Paredes led the game off with first pitch bomb, right?
Yep.
First pitch bomb. Then you had I forget what Myers did, to be honest with you. But the thing was, Altuve got his first at bat was a ball off the wall. I mean, like he crushed it off the wall, double, right? And so Cam Smith right after him, like from the jump, you're jumping on that pitcher right from the beginning, hard exit velo. Right. Like we're like, okay, all right, let's do it. And then, like you said, man, like you keep booing this dude, you keep booing Altuve, and he reminds you like why you don't need to boo this man. Right. I mean, 2 bombs on Friday, hit a bomb today. We'll get into it today. Right. I posted something today that Blummer says, so I'm gonna give him credit for it. As soon as Altuve hit his Oppo bomb, no, he didn't hit Oppo today. As soon as he hit his bomb today, he called him Albuve, right? And I love it, right? Like, keep booing the man. I want that nickname to stick. I hope it does. It probably won't, but I like it, man. So don't boo the man. But really, for Astros fans, it's, hey, man, keep booing the man, right? Because when you do, he just keeps shutting you up. And the good thing about it is, like, he had this interview with Ken Rosenthal on Saturday. I know we're kind of all over the series, but we're talking about Altuve specifically. Like, he interviewed with Rosenthal after the game Saturday, and one of the things that Rosenthal asked him was specifically about the booing and how does he handle that. His answer, Altuve's was, hey, look, man, I show up and I try and I work as hard as I can, and I'm here to help the team, however I can. And that's the kind of player, and that's the kind of player and person that we have in Altuve. So, hey, for Astros fans, keep booing the man, keep booing him, because he's going to remind you. He's going to remind you. So, there's so much to talk about on Friday. Like I said, it was 18-1. He put up a 10 spot in the 6th inning. Like, you just went in there on Friday and you set the tone for the series, right? It was just nonstop. I mean, like, you can go down the list of the guys. I mean, I've got their box scores. I mean, there's so many, right? But aside from the offensive explosion, super pumped about LMJ out there, man. Just going out there and dealing. Right, 6 innings. Then you had Costanza, Jason Alexander up. He gets a three. Goes out for 3 innings, gets a 17-run save, which I can't remember the last time. I'm sure they said it right, but there's been a minute since a pitcher's got a 17-run save.
I had to double check the box score because I saw that and I'm like, wow. And then I finally read into it and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on Friday, because so much happened, right? But I think Friday was the game where Altuve, did he run into the ball? Did you see that as a base runner? He ran into the ball.
No, I missed that.
I think that was Friday. Man. But there was so much. I mean, Cam's still mashing, dude. Myers, 3 for 5. Altuve, 3 for 3, 4 runs, 5 RBIs, 2 walks. Cam Smith, 2 for 6. Christian Walker had a big series.
That was going to be my next point is like, talking about Walker.
His bomb that he hit on Friday was just a monster shot. And with that bomb on Friday, he extended his, I think it was a 6-game home run streak that he had at Dodger Stadium. He had hit 8 home runs in the last 6 games that he had played at Dodger Stadium with that home run on Friday. So, Walker overall, I took some notes. I took a couple notes. Let's see if this thing. So Walker for the road trip was 12 for 27, right? And like, you played in Colorado, which he was used to playing with, was the D-backs, right? Played in LA, obviously, kind of like a little bit of home cooking, right? He was in some ballparks that he had a lot of familiarity with, and that showed. So Walker, big series. Victor Caratini, grand slam, another grand slam, right? I mean, that put us up. I think that put us up like 13-1. I think with that grand slam, so like, it was just an awesome display of offensive power that we had on Friday. You know what I mean?
Well, and to mark on what you were saying, it was an offensive just outburst, which was fantastic. And they're the two guys that we really needed to get going was Altuve and Walker. We need to see some really good offense out of these guys, especially moving forward now that we're getting, past the middle of the season. And that's exactly what happened this weekend. And they didn't just stop it on Friday. It went through Saturday and today as well. And then one note I did want to make, Altuve was playing second base, obviously, this entire series. And he looked fantastic playing defense. So, I don't know. I don't even know where all this came from, where they were like, oh, Altuve's lost a step. Oh, his defensive metrics are down. All this kind of stuff. And it's like, dude, that diving play he had at second to get the runner out. Like, yeah, I haven't seen any other second baseman. I don't care if they're 22, 25, or how old is Altuve at this point? Like 35, 36?
35.
But anyway, who cares? Dude, his defense is spot on. So, let's Dana Brown and Joe Espada, let's go ahead and leave him at second base. We've got some injuries in the on the roster. So, I mean, that's kind of put him at second. But I think we know where he needs to be. And then back to Walker real quick. Yeah, it was some home cooking for him. I think it was familiarity with playing with the Diamondbacks on how well he was able to get in there and just absolutely knock around the Dodgers. I think everybody got a little piece of action on Friday as far as knocking some Dodger pitchers around. But at the same time, it was really, really good to see Walker come alive. Good to see Altuve come alive. And then that was just on Friday. So if you want,
that was just Friday.
Go ahead and we can get into Saturday and Sunday as well.
Breaking news: Dodger Michael's found, thank God, in the fetal position, crying though, holding on to his Kershaw jersey. So, Chris, good job with consoling your brother on that one. So let's go into Saturday. Saturday was the game of the week. Fox was there. We had John Smoltz on the call and the other guy, whatever came, not really important. However, we had Framber on the mound against Shohei. Big matchup. We talked about it on Saturday. That's part of the reason why we went, live for the first 3 innings, because we wanted to see that matchup. Going into Saturday, Framber in his last 10 starts was 8-0 with a 1.72 ERA, and opponent batting average was .195. That was going into Saturday, right? So there's a massive, massive matchup. And look, Ohtani went less innings than I thought he was going to go. I believe he only went 2 innings. I know he's not fully stretched out. I know they had him on a pitch count. Me and Chris kind of talked about thinking he was going to go, maybe 4 innings, 5 at the most, depending on pitches, right? But he got out pretty early. And look, we talked about it. Me and Chris did. I kind of brought it up. And if you can go back to a majority of the series this season where the Astros have had issues against like the starting pitchers, they'll go the first 3-4 innings of not really doing anything, terrible plate appearances, and then they hit that bullpen, and then they turn the light switch on, and then it's go time. And it was a lot of the same with Ohtani, because those 2 innings that he was in there, couldn't touch him. We couldn't touch him.
Yeah, no, I did see that. Ohtani did look pretty good for the limited amount of action that he got on Saturday. And then Framber, he had a little bit of a shaky start, and we've kind of gotten used to that at this point. Like Framber's got to settle in, right, to just kind of get going. But he still had some traffic on the bases that was concerning, I thought, for the way that he should be pitching at this point of the season. I mean, right now he should be totally fine. We're not having to worry about him being shaky in the beginning and getting kind of settled in. That way he can kind of finish the game strong and everything like that. Now, don't get me wrong. He still pitched a great game. And once again, we won the game, which also we had decent offense to come in and support our pitching staff, which helped out tremendously. But yeah, that matchup, I mean, as soon as we saw it, that it actually hit on the news feeds when, all the pitching lineups were set for the weekend or whatever, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be the game. And it was a good game to watch. It was exciting all the way from start to finish. And like you said, it was and should have been, the game of the week for sure. And I know a lot of people have already said it. It was out there on X. It was in just about any sports broadcast that was talking baseball over the weekend was talking about it. They're like, this could potentially be the World Series, like game one matchup right here. So, I mean, it was fun to watch. I know you've got the stats right there and everything, so I'll kind of let you get into it, and then let's go for it.
Yeah, so we're watching the game live, we're kind of reacting to it. We go down 2-0 early, right? Down 2 after 2. And then we get to the third inning. Right, in the third inning, you've got 7, 8, 9 coming up, right? So that's going to be Cooper, Hummel, Short, and Dubon. Hummel, Dubon, then Short. And so we're on the episode, and we're like, Hummel gets on base, right? Mauricio gets on base. Then you have Zach Short, which look, we're only going about 30, 35 minutes tonight, and we got a lot to cover. And we're going to talk about Zach Short. But he comes up, and we're like, not really clowning on the guy, right? But, who's this guy type of deal, a little bit of bumping our gums. And then he hits a double down the line, right? Double down the line, ties the game up. Cam Smith ends up coming up later. He singles, he gets an RBI, right? Zach scores. Walker hits a single. We go up another run, 4-2. Then you have Yainer Diaz hits a bomb. We're up 5-2. I mean, just like that, man. Just like that. So it's like with Yainer Diaz, he swings so freely, just like he was doing today. But then he runs into one, just like he did today, right? And kind of put the nail in the coffin today. But you had this down 2-0. Fromber looking a little shaky, right? He ends up with a pretty good line. 6 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned, 7 Ks, 2 walks. The 2 runs were on 2 bombs, or he gave up 2 bombs. But you saw this offense come back, and not only, and me and Chris said, we said, look, in that third inning, we need to cut this lead in half. At least we need to plate 1 at least, and then we go and put 4 on the board. And in the 4th inning, we get that home run, right? We're up 5-2 at that point, but then in that bottom half, we give up 2, right? So we're 5-4 late in the game, and then who hit the Caratini. Caratini hit a sacrifice fly in the 8th inning. That gave us a 2-run lead. So, and then Hader comes in, shuts it down, 25 for 25 on saves. He's one of our all-stars. We'll get into that here in a minute too. But the point of it is that there was this zero backing down, right? It's like, okay, cool. Frommer gave up the 2 early runs. You got guys like Hummel doing what, Hummel needs to do. Guys like Zach Short that we were about to clown on right before he hits the double down the line. Before you know it, boom, game's tied. Blink of an eye, we're up 4-2, right? So, and that's been the theme of this season, where with all these injuries that we have, we go down to Sugar Land and we pluck these guys up, and they come in and they do like exactly what we asked them to do, what we need them to do. Colton Gordon, Brandon Walter, just to name a few, right? I mean, Jason Alexander when we called him up, for God's sake, right? So you've got Cam moving up the batting lineup. He's hitting 4. I think he was hitting 4 again today. What was he hitting today?
I didn't see where he was in the lineup today.
1, 2, 3, 4. But he's anywhere between 2 and 4. Like, he's moving up in the lineup, right? Because he's mashing. So Saturday, 6-4 final. Take the series, and like I'm cool on Sunday moving into I want to sweep these guys because we always want to sweep, right? As fans, like we always want to sweep. We definitely want to sweep the Dodgers, put them out of their misery on this homestand. And look, man, we go into today, and you're throwing gusto, right? You're throwing gusto, and he's been a little up and down, but that kid goes out there and gives you 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned today.
You can't complain about that at all.
Cannot complain. And against that lineup, the Dodgers are just the Dodgers, right? I mean, they have a great lineup, but and I think it's because you go in on Friday night and you knock them in the teeth right from the jump. I mean, you crush their souls on Friday night. You make their fans sit there through the whole blowout so they can watch the damn fireworks show while you're just constantly just hammer fist, 18-1. And then Saturday was like their closest game as far as the runs for the game, their best chance for them to win, and you snatch it up again. So today, what you got? What you got for Saturday or beginning or Gusto's?
Yeah, well, real quick, I want to back up onto Saturday. One of the things I was going to say is, we had talked about Altuve and we talked about Walker needing to, be those guys, step up and start actually getting some offense going. Well, we got some contributors we weren't necessarily expecting for Saturday.
Yeah.
And the one guy I did leave out of there was Caratini, man. That guy's looked fantastic over the last month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has just been absolutely contributing every single game he's in one way or another offensively. I mean, the guy's just been absolutely nails. And then as far as Yonder Diaz getting going too, you're right. He has been swinging a lot freely than, I don't remember him doing it that bad last year, but this season it does. It looks like he's kind of just swinging at whatever he wants, but the dude can run into one. And when he does, it's going to go a long way. So yeah, he looked really good. And then just like you said, man, the contributors that we're not used to, the Zach Shorts, the Trammels, the Hummels, those guys, showed up and actually contributed all weekend. I mean, and let's just put this into perspective real quick. This isn't like we're playing the White Sox, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just in the middle of July or something like that. You're playing the highest spending team in all of Major League Baseball and all of baseball history, for that fact. And it's just these guys came in there. They weren't nervous. They felt like the game was theirs to take, and they went out there and took it. And we took it to the Dodgers too. So, we already broke down Saturday's game, and then today, Sunday, still got the win. And, Gusto went out there and pitched just like we needed him to. Like you said, 6+ innings, 6 innings, excuse me. And he only gave up 1 run. So he looked really good. His last couple of outings have been looking really, really good. So I think he's finally starting to get a little bit more used to being on the big league stage. So that's really, really good to see, because we're going to need some more starting pitching help as this progresses and we start to get into, like August and especially like the beginning of September, when, I mean, it's going to be absolutely crucial that these guys are able to hang on. So, it's good to see that he's kind of getting there. Hopefully we're not going to wear some of these arms out, because like I said, we are going to need them by the end of the season, because there's no guarantee that these guys that we've had on the IL for the last, 6 months plus, year plus, whatever, that we're set to come back. There's no guarantee that they're going to come back and still be the stars we were used to seeing. So anyway, I don't want to take away from the Dodgers series real quick, because I know we've got to kind of wrap that up and then get going into our next series. PK, what did you have on the sweep for today on Sunday?
Well, what I have is to kind of touch on your point about this isn't like the White Sox on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like the Dodgers had won 15 out of their last 18 coming into this series, right? Like they had won 4 in a row. They just had played the White Sox at home and swept that series, but like to your point, this isn't this isn't bottom of the barrel. I mean, you went out there and you just, man, like you straight snatched their souls, and it was beautiful to watch all freaking weekend. So Sunday, let's get into that. We'll get a few minutes on this, and then we'll get into some all-star snubs and all that good stuff. But Gusto pitches 6, like I said, 4 hits, 1 earned. Let's see. Brian King came in for an inning. He had 2 Ks, no runs. Abreu, snub. He came in for an inning. And then Bennett Sousa, who's been, or not then, but Bennett Sousa was first, then King, then Abreu. But Bennett Sousa, has been freaking nails, like all season. And he throws freaking gas, right? I mean, so like our bullpen, which really wasn't needed that much. It really, outside of shit, I guess maybe Saturday. Let's see how many guys threw on Saturday. So the same guys. Yes, we had Abreu, Sousa, and Hader, right? But like, so earlier in the season, we were looking at a Brian King, Brian Abreu, Hader, 7, 8, 9, right? That's how earlier in the season it was kind of shaping up. And I think it's still kind of like that too. But Bennett Sousa has started to turn into the new 7, 8, 9, right? Like the King, like Brian King and Bennett Sousa can be your 6-7, like kind of alternating. Like, how do you want the matchup? Right. I mean, they're both lefties, but like those guys can alternate with that 6 and 7 bridge to Abreu and Hader. So like your bullpen has been nails. It was nails this weekend. And I was trying to do some quick Alvin Community College math, so I'm probably going to mess it up, but we're going to do it anyway. So Ohtani for the weekend, he was 0 for 4 today, 1 for 4 yesterday. So what am I at? 1 for 8. Friday, 0 for 3. So 1 for 11 in this series, right? Your, however many hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollar guy, right? Like got owned this weekend. And so, today was kind of a close game, right? 1-1 after 3. Let's see, in the sixth inning, I posted about it because I was watching that one right before I left to take my daughter home. And that was the Zach Short at bat, where he was down 0-2. We were down 0-2. I think he had 2 guys on. Yeah, he had 2 guys on. And came back and worked. I mean, look, he took some good pitches, man, like some really good close pitches, and worked the count, fouled some balls off, and took a walk. And look, just to talk about Zach Short, that kid, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, didn't know much about him when he got called up. Kind of poked fun at, who's this short playing short type of deal. And he had a monster weekend. Every time that kid seemed to come up in some kind of a clutch situation, like he came through. And so, look, man, it's a big, hand clap, however you want to put it, for the organization. Where you got these guys down there in Sugar Land that have been plucked up for injuries, and they come up and they do what you need them to do. You needed him to have a good AB there. He did. He set the table, and then let's see, Yiner scored. So he walks, Dubon to second, Hummel to third, and then Yiner scores. And at that point, that's the lead. You take that lead 2-1 at that point, right? And then you have the eighth inning. The eighth inning, you've got back-to-back bombs. Put them out there. Walker hit a bomb. Yiner hit a bomb. And you're like, hell yes. Put them out of their misery. And then to cap it off, you have Altuve. Old Altuve, the GOAT. In the ninth. Nail in the coffin for the series, baby. Solo shot down left field line. 5-1. And, I think Sousa, let's see. Who came in? Yeah, Sousa. I think Sousa came in. Sousa, King, and Abreu today just laid it down, man. Laid it down at the back end. It was over. Complete the sweep. Get the hell out of L.A. Plant the Houston Astros logo on top of that Hollywood sign, right? Houston takes over L.A. And then we just, man, what a great weekend for Astros baseball to go into L.A. and just punch them in the mouth and get the sweep.
Yeah, and I will say Walker had some fantastic defense today. He had a number of balls hit to him over at first, and he even got the last out of the entire game and series. So that was fun to watch, man. I'm glad that those guys were able to get in there. And my favorite stat before I give it back up to you that I actually found was the worst loss on Friday that the Dodgers have had since they've been in Los Angeles. The last time they got beat worse than that, they were in New York.
Yeah.
They were in Brooklyn.
I did see that on Friday. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, look, man, Astros it was such a good weekend. It was such a good weekend for Astros baseball. So that wraps up the Astros out in LA. I'm glad that Chris was able to take care of his brother, found him, sucking his thumb in the corner of his room. But now we move on to Cleveland. But before we do that, we got a few minutes. All-star announcements were made today. 3 Astros All-Stars on the team, which is kind of shocking to me. But you've got Hunter Brown, of course, Hader, and then Pena is a reserve, right? Is he reserve? He's reserved, right? Yes. Yeah. I think Wilson is a starter. Snubs, I think right off the jump, I think Fromber is a definite snub. I mean, I know, just look at, I told you what he had done in his 10 starts coming into Saturday, 8-0. 172 ERA. I think he still might get onto the team with some of these guys maybe opting out to not play or opt for the rest. But initially, as of right now on this episode, there's only 3 Astros for All-Stars. So what are your thoughts on that? quick thoughts on other snubs.
Yeah. Obviously, I have Pena coming off the IL here shortly. I don't think he's going to end up getting to play, which is unfortunate. I do think Fromber was a snub. I agree with you on that as well. And then, last time I looked at voting, Altuve still had a really good shot of making the team, even though prior to, the last, I'd say 10 days, his numbers might not have shown it quite as much. But anyway, my point being is, listen, if I'm putting together an all-star team, I want Altuve on there. So I'm going to call that a snub. I'll call Fromber a snub. Other than that, man, there's a couple of guys that deserve it on our team, but we've had so many injuries, guys coming up and down, stuff like that. It's I think that we pretty much got well, you know what, Abreu. I think Abreu needed to be on there too.
Yeah,
because
he's agree.
Been solid out of the bullpen. But I don't think it's too terrible on what they picked. We could have had a couple on there, and just like you said, there's going to be injury, guys that just pull out because they don't want to play in the game or whatever the case may be. So you never know. We might see another couple Astros on there.
You never know. And the other thing too, I posted this on X yesterday, is that we watch this team day in and day out, right? And we know the history that we've had with Jake Myers, right? Where the potential, the shoulder injury, the offensive lack of offensive, production, and so we see what Myers, we know what he can do out in the field. We saw him make a diving catch. I think that was on, I don't even know. I think that was, it doesn't matter. He made a diving catch. I think it was Saturday.
It was Saturday. Yeah. I was going to
say, big out. But we have a bunch of guys that they're not household names that have been called up for replacement for injuries, and they've done what they needed to do. So I agree. I think Abreu, Fromber are the two snubs for sure. Paredes is a big snub.
Oh, man. That's a good call.
You should have what's the count on that? That should have 6. You should have 6 guys from the Astros named on there. You should have 6. But whatever. It is what it is. And I posted it today. I said, that's fine. If they don't want to give us all the all-stars that we think that we need, our goal and our focus is hanging another banner. That's the goal. So cool. We'll see what happens in the all-star game. But those are your 3 guys, Hader, Brown, and Pena for right now. We got a few minutes. Let's get into the Cleveland Guardians series. They're in town tomorrow through Wednesday. Bryles, who we got on the mound for that series?
All right, Monday, going for the Guardians, you've got Bibby at 4.9 with a 4.2 ERA. I will tell you, I think he's a better pitcher than what his numbers reflect, so be careful. And he's pitching up against Colton Gordon, 3-1 with a 4.37 ERA. Tuesday, looking at Cantillo, who is 1-0 with a 3.41 ERA against Hunter Brown, 9-3, 1.82 ERA. Let's go ahead and say an MLB leading ERA. And then Wednesday, and yes, we did have to look it up to see how to pronounce this. Ciccone.
We sure did. Ciccone.
3-4 with a 3.56 ERA against Walter, 1-1 with a 4.15. All
right. So Moreno has chimed in. He is taking a 2-1 series that over the Guardians. He did not specify what games he's taking. Doesn't really matter. So he's going 2-1. I also will go 2-1. I know we're at home. We've been playing we've been playing out of our minds at home, right? I like Colton Gordon. I'm fully on the Colton Gordon train. I know Chris is probably laughing, while he's listening to this, but I'll take the win tomorrow. I'll take the win on Tuesday with Hunter Brown. Brandon Walter. I'm not saying he's going to lose us the game. I'm just taking Monday and Tuesday, 2-1.
All right. Well, short of Bibby pitching tomorrow, I'm not going to lie. I had to look these other 2 guys up, and I don't really know who they were, which is, that shows a couple things. One, I don't really follow the Guardians baseball very much. And 2, these are some newer pitchers. And, a lot of times the Guardians have a pretty good rotation. But, with Cantillo and Ciccone, I think we can take wins out of these, especially the way we've been playing. So we came red hot out of LA. We're going to get on the plane. Well, probably already on the plane if they're not here yet. But anyway, point being, I think we're going to get a sweep out of this again. So I'm going back-to-back sweeps. We took that sweep in Los Angeles. I stay there and come home, and they're going to wreck shop again, going into the All-Star break, and then everybody's going to get a nice little rest, and we're going to get back to business. So I'm going back to 3-0.
Sweep for Bryles, 2-1 for me and Moreno. And like you said, coming off that Thursday off day, we got the old Rangers in town. The old Rangers.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. Sorry. I said going to the All-Star break after that. My bad.
Well, after that series, we'll go to the All-Star break. But, yeah, look, I think it's going to be a good series coming up. Let's talk about it every week, man. Lead on the West. Before we get out of here, man, on a serious note, though, thoughts and prayers up to all the families out in the hill country. Devastating flooding. Oh, you guys, I'm sure, have been hearing about all the sad stories with these kids at the camp. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers. I know they keep rescuing people. Hopefully they rescue some more, man. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Make sure you follow us on X. It's all there on the bottom. At @juicebox_heroes on X. Instagram, juice_box_heroes. YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a great week. We'll be back on Thursday, and Marino will be back with us then as well. Until then, I'm PK. That's Bryles. This is the Juicebox Heroes.
Prayers for Texas, guys. That was some awful, awful stuff.
Yeah, it's terrible. Terrible, terrible.